How are we all doing? How are we all doing this evening? Yeah, I got the avatar going on screen. I'm in a good mood. You know, we hit 4K last night, so you got to get a little celebratory Ainsley Harriet out there. So we do it like this. I was thinking either do it with this one or where's the other one? Do it with this one. I prefer the other one. The other one's better. The other one's definitely better. But how's your Saturday going or Sunday going? We got plenty to talk about tonight. We'll stick with that. That one's better. But yeah, we are getting close to fight week. I really should have done this about Chisora Parker, to be honest, which I should have put that as the headline, but I had the thumbnail made, so I said we'll stick with it. We got plenty to talk about. So we're into fight week for Chisora Parker, coming off the back of last night's card, which was actually quite an entertaining card, I have to say. There was some decent fights on it. Sakolowski versus Adebaye. Is that how you pronounce his name? I always get his name is a lot trickier to pronounce. Did I watch Berlanga? Yeah, I did. I didn't watch the whole fight. I watched like parts of it. I really thought he'd stop him. I really didn't think he'd stop him in the first round, but I thought he'd stop him, if not hurt him bad in the first round, finish him off in the second. And if he didn't, see, I didn't watch it live. All right, I didn't watch it live, but when I saw UD, I was thinking, oh, now that might be good because we don't see enough of Berlanga. You know, I know DJF was at a Uberlanga, he was calling him. What I saw in that fight, Berlanga's power it seems legit because the shots he was dropping Nicholson with, it shows the snap he has in those shots because he seemed to not really land. They didn't have massive concussive effect on them, but just the weight behind the punch was putting them down. So he's definitely got natural punching power there. He's going to be a problem, you know, with that punching power. But I was surprised when it was said 8 rounds, unanimous. That'll do him all the good in the world. Like, I mean, they said after that he went 24 minutes in that fight. And his previous, 17 fights, he'd gone 26 minutes. So it's nice to get all those first round knockouts. Looks good on paper. Looks good for, you know, PR. But those 8 rounds will do him the world of good. It'll stand him in good stead, you know. Would have been interesting to see now if that was a 10-rounder. He probably would have got rid of Nicholson anyway if it was a 10-rounder. But it was still good to see him that he can do the 8 rounds. Because best believe it's all well and good, as I said, to get all them first-round KOs. But to be fair, it's not going to do you any good in terms of, like, if a fighter can take your power and he can hit you back and hurt you, what happens then, you know? So, fair play to Berlanga. It's a good little win. Hi, G-Man. We'll try and get on live. Glad I didn't back Bentley. Oh, boy. Yeah, that went bad. I genuinely, right, because I'd seen so much of Cash, and he'd done the same basic thing over and over again. He's obviously a lot more versatile than I gave him credit for. And he's obviously, well, he was definitely the bigger guy in there. Felix Cash is a very big middleweight, huge at the weight. But I really did think that, look, having seen enough of Felix Cash, he'd always done pretty much the same thing, right? He always just comes forward, applies steady pressure. There is good fundamentals there. Don't get me wrong. It's not like he's an out-and-out slugger and there's no real technique there. There is. But Bentley, from what I've seen, he seemed more versatile. He seemed to carry power. He just seemed to be all around the better fighter. It's just from what I saw of both fighters, Bentley just seemed to be all around the better fighter. But from the opening bell, you could see Cash was just way too big, way too strong, hit too hard, and Bentley was just like a fish out of water. I was really surprised because I put some good money down. Well, I put 20 quid down on Bentley to win by any means. And I was thinking that was a surefire thing. I thought Bentley would stop Cash. And boy, did I get that wrong. And me, and not just me and a lot of others got it wrong as well. I guess we don't give Felix Cash enough credit. He's obviously a lot more sophisticated and he's obviously a lot better than we give him credit for. It's just the fact that he'd always seemingly done the same thing over and over again, and he didn't seem versatile. He seemed to me, and you know, I'm not saying he's going to go on and win, you know, world titles or anything like that. No, but for my money, he just seemed like a fairly run-of-the-mill contender. There was nothing special about him, but maybe that's not what you need. I mean, you look at guys like Badu Jack, there's nothing special about him, but he's effective, you know? So could have been just that. Gee, did I hear Felix Cash scream on the brick top last night? He was definitely screaming at Frank Warren if he was screaming. I didn't hear that. See, I was out at a party last night, so I watched the fight, but not with any sound. I big up to Halim every time. Way too early. I normally do them early on a Sunday. Actually, this is probably late by Sunday standards, to be honest with you. Big up to Nick every single time. Big up G-Man and the whole chat. Busy with your sons. Catch up on your next live. We'll do one during the week, mate. Definitely smash the like button on the way in if you could. If you could, lads. Now that would be a fun fight. Liam Williams versus Cash. Oh, now that's an interesting fight. I wouldn't mind. That's a fight that I'd like to see because both guys won't give any inch. Both guys are going to come forward. Both guys can punch a bit. Both guys very strong. I would say Felix Cash. In fact, he's definitely going to be the naturally bigger of the two. Liam Williams is the guy coming up from 154. Felix Cash, how long is he going to stick around at 160? Because he looked, Denzel Bentley's not small at the weight, but Felix Cash looked way bigger. Way bigger. So I wonder how long he's going to be at 160, or is he going to go up to 168? Tony Sims is doing a very good job. Maybe we don't give Tony Sims enough credit because now if someone wants to correct me on this, right? I'm sure Felix Cash turned pro with Jim McDonnell. In fact, I'm nearly sure he did. Now, if anyone wants to correct me on that, you feel free to, but I'm pretty sure he was sparring James DeGale quite a bit when he turned pro, and I'm sure he was trained by Jim McDonnell. Jim McDonnell, never really rated Jim McDonnell as a trainer, to be honest with you. He's okay, he's not terrible, but he's not one of the best around. And I'm wondering if since he's moved to Tony Sims, and I can't remember exactly when, because I'm definitely sure he was trained by, in fact, I'm going to check it, because I'm definitely sure he was trained by Jim McDonnell. Before someone puts it in the chat, Jim McDonald. I'm nearly sure he was. McDonald's, it doesn't say. No, but I'm nearly sure he was. But Tony Sims is obviously doing great work with a lot of his fighters. You know, Conor Benn is greatly improved. He's still working with Ted Cheeseman. Ted Cheeseman, I don't think you can give Tony Sims much criticism for Ted Cheeseman. I think Cheeseman brings a lot of that on himself by just using his head as a battering ram. Yeah, that's a great one. Is that Mike McCallum? No, it's Ainsley Harriott, chef from TV. Ainsley Harriott. That's a celebration one. Evening, gents. Big up to Ra every time. Yeah, I watched the Berlanga fight. Yeah, I thought Sokolowski was real unlucky not to get the decision. Real unlucky. I watched it again this morning and I still had Sokolowski winning. When I watched it live, I gave him every round. When I watched it the second time, I only gave Ada whatever, yeah, that guy, 1 round. But yeah, Triple G, big up. Big up to Morty James. Should he fight Jesse Hart next? I would give him another couple of fights before putting him in there with Jesse Hart, to be honest with you. You see, Jesse Hart is probably not at his peak now, but Jesse Hart's still useful. Like, Jesse Hart is still a very, very useful fighter. So for me, they need to take their time with Berlanga. Like, he's not that old. They don't need to rush him into a Jesse Hart fight because Jesse Hart can punch as well. He's big at 168. He's rangy. He can move. He can be awkward to run around the ring. Ask Joe Smith. He takes a fairly decent shot. Lacks the killer instinct. That's one thing about Jesse Hart. Lacks the killer instinct. I remember when he was fighting Zuda Ramirez, the first fight, and he was down early on in that fight. And to be fair, he seemed to shake the knockdown off quite quickly, and it was a heavy enough knockdown. I think it was an uppercut that he put him down with. He got back up, got through the fight, and he hurt Zuda Ramirez in, I think it was the 11th round. And I think that he didn't realize he hurt Ramirez as bad as he did. And then Ramirez wasn't down, but he was definitely shaken, and he didn't push the action. He didn't step on the gas. And I think that that's probably one of Jesse Hart's biggest criticisms, is that he doesn't really have the killer instinct. But against Berlanga, he would probably, look, I don't know pound for pound how hard Berlanga hits in terms of super middleweights, but I would imagine Joe Smith Jr. hits harder, just from the eye that Joe Smith Jr. is a very good puncher. So if you're taking Joe Smith Jr. power, okay, in my opinion, you should be, I'm not going to say you're going to leave your chin out, but he'll definitely be able to, I'm sure, take the sting out of Berlanga's shots. And late on, who knows what will happen. Who wins, Northampton champ Chantel Cameron or Katie Taylor? Honestly, you want my honest opinion on that? I'd go with Chantel Cameron. Seriously. The Katie Taylor's good, but I do rate Chantel Cameron quite highly. I've spoken actually with Chantel Cameron a few times. I'm trying to get her on here someday. But honestly, from what I've seen in both of them, Chantel Cameron, I think she countered Katie Taylor to death. And I think she's just a bit too big. Like, Katie Taylor could probably do super feather if she really wanted. Chantel Cameron's a natural 140-pounder. Oh, big up to Dell every time. Me and Dell had the little COVID parties. Congrats on 4K. Man, that just came about overnight. That literally, the subs just shot up overnight. Thank God for that. Delighted with 4K, man. And big up to Dell. Dell has one of the best, in my opinion, is one of the top 5 boxing YouTubers. Always love listening to Dell's intake on boxing. Love listening to him chat. One of the very few who's seen the face reveal. That was fun. That was good. Big up to Dell. Big up to Dell. I know. I don't know why you criticize Lee Selby as much, mate. That's one thing. After seeing you, I can't see why you'd ever criticize Lee Selby. You and him are like, I'll leave it there. LG, man, big up to Joe. How's everything doing? We're brilliant. What happened to Bentley? Cash is a lot better than I think me and you both, Joe. To be honest with you, mate. Like, I was watching that with the sound on. Well, there was sound on, but you couldn't hear it. And I was surprised. I was thinking I've not given Cash as much credit. Because I suppose, like, how do you say it? Like, I've seen Bentley, I've seen Cash. And Bentley's just looks so more impressive to me. But I suppose you could say that about other, like, fighters as well. Like, I mean, you could probably look at Josh Kelly and you could say Josh Kelly looks way more impressive than David Avanesian. But I don't, well, in terms of athleticism, but none of us here were picking Josh Kelly to beat David Avanesian. I suppose you could use it as something like that, where you let the kind of thing someone's doing, as in Denzel Bentley, you just look at that, you think, oh, he's going to be better than Felix Cash, who does the same thing over and over again. But obviously, Cash, even to his fundamentals, looked better in the ring that night. I was surprised, but yeah, me and you both, mate. I was convinced he was going to stop Felix. Convinced. I looked at the Jason Wellborn fight. I also looked at the Jack Cullen fight. And I was thinking, Cash is, if he fights like that against Bentley, he's going to get knocked out. And, well, fair play. I want to see that fight. And you see, both them guys are come forward pressure fighters. So that's going to be entertaining. If I had to pick, I'd pick Liam Williams to win the fight. I just think he's more seasoned. He's just been in there with the better quality competition. But definitely Felix Cash, for me, he'll have the size advantage. Cash is a big lump of a man at 160. I'm surprised he gets down to that weight, because the lad is absolutely shredded. Every time you see him, he's shredded. Bentley didn't change his tactics after getting buzzed in the first. I should have gotten his bike. Yeah, you see, that's the thing. Like, Bentley, I wonder if Bentley thought, like we did, that Felix Cash is there for to be hit. Like, so rather than just, take your time with things, box him, etc., he just decided, I'm going to try and knock this guy out, and didn't want to get on his bike. Because I'm sure if Bentley had got on his bike, he could have been all right. He might not have won, but he could have done a lot better than he did. There we go. That'll be a war, straight up war. That Callum Johnson match was Marcus, but well done to Johnson. Yeah, that was an interesting fight. That was an interesting little fight. Callum Johnson, he really made that look a bit harder than it needed to be. Because when he put it on him, he was great. But there was moments he was boring in with shots. And fuck me, man. He was getting hit. You're just thinking, if that was like for any of these, like imagine that was Dimitri Bivol, Vlasov, Joe Smith, he would be getting tagged up. And you don't want to leave your chin out against guys like that who'll tag you up. But that fight right there, is interesting. Vlasov versus Bivol. Bivol, oh, lad. Styles make fights. Even though Bivol beat Joe Smith, and Joe Smith officially beat Maxime Vlasov, that's a really competitive fight. Dimitri Bivol, fast, good boxer, great footwork, not the biggest light heavyweight in the world. Maxim Vlasov throws a lot of punches, decent chin, decent power, huge at the weight. This is a former cruiserweight, and he wasn't a small cruiserweight either. That would be an interesting fight. I'd tell I would favor Bivol. I think his speed and just his boxing ability would win him that fight, but I'd love to see that fight. Maxim Vlasov is a hell of a fighter. And I'm definitely in the agreement that he was quite unlucky against Joe Smith Jr. I think that he definitely deserved to get the decision. It is what it is. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again if they could run it back, but Vlasov is a problem. Vlasov kind of goes into that because he's not really a cash cow. He's a dangerous fighter for anyone, any of the champions. So why would you fight him if you didn't have to? That's the kind of guy Vlasov is, unless he brings serious money to the table. And like Vlasov, it really does put into context Zudo Ramirez's performance against Vlasov, because I remember HBO were real critical of him because it was a close fight, and that was at 168 or 170 actually, the catch weight. But in hindsight, Zudo actually done quite well. And that was a 10-rounder. And he done better than Joe Smith. That was just a 10-rounder. True, Tommy been out for 2 years, but good to be back. Oh, you mean Johnson? I didn't read that question. Ken Johnson needs to secure a big fight. He's not getting any younger. Yeah, he's 35. They're trying to get Joe Smith over the line. If the Callum Johnson who turned up last night turns up against Joe Smith, he's getting knocked out, simple as. Because he's going to leave Joe Smith way too many openings. Joe Smith is very good at punching with you. Like, if you go back and look at his fight against Fonfara, right, that fight lasted, what, a minute, 2 minutes? Fonfara was making Joe Smith look very basic early on, just boxing. You know, Fonfara was just boxing the head off Joe Smith. Go back and watch it. Joe Smith looked very, very basic. But then what he did was he punched with Fonfara, and that's when he was able to catch him and take him out. So Joe Smith is very good at punching with the opponent, and I think that he'll do something similar if he fights Callum Johnson. And I think that it'll just be too much. I think he'll knock Callum Johnson out. I think Joe Smith is big, huge at light heavyweight, hits hard. Vlasov, well, I'd pick Vlasov over Callum Johnson. So, again, styles make fights, but I think that stylistically Callum Johnson would play into Joe Smith's strengths. He's not going to have to go looking for the guy. You know? Evening to Lamb Chop, evening to the special one. He says, hello, king of ripped jeans. Ain't no one got better ripped jeans than your boy. If you haven't seen Navarrete versus Diaz, do so. Fight of the night or maybe fight of the year. So far, unbelievable courage from Diaz. The epitome of going out on your shield. Oh, I've seen highlights of it, but I haven't watched it. But the shots that Navarrete was landing. Navarrete is very unorthodox, isn't he? He throws like shots from such unorthodox angles, but they have such good power on them. I mean, Navarrete, he's one of those fighters where he had a loss in like a prize fighter style tournament very early on in his career, back down at Flyweight. And that loss he went under the radar. They put him in there against Isaac Dogbe as very much the opponent. And obviously we saw what happened. He showed people just that he can box, he can slug, he can punch, he's got a decent chin. Man, Emmanuel Navarrete is a hell of a fighter, and he is a problem. Like if Josh Taylor beats Mauricio Lara in the rematch, don't let him anywhere near Emmanuel Navarrete. And do you remember when I think Conlon was meant to fight for, he could have fought for a vacant WBO title at featherweight before they said they go back down to 122. Could you imagine Conlon versus Navarrete? That'd be like a lamb to the slaughter. Berlanga and Canelo should never be mentioned in the same breath. Dude was gassed by the 8. Were they mentioned? I didn't. Jesus, mentioning Berlanga in the same breath as Canelo. To be fair, like, he showed that he can go the rounds, to be fair. And, you know, he's definitely got some natural heavy-handed there. Because the shots he was throwing, even when they didn't look devastating, they definitely were, you know, they had power on them. They didn't look devastating, but they had power. Isn't PR savvy. He would know better among casuals if he was. Yeah, Callum Johnson's kind of bet the bully beats Berlanga. Who's bet the... Oh, yeah, Vektimir Melikuziev. Oh, yeah, he'd smash him up. Oh, yeah. Bet the bully. I was wondering who. Bet the Vektimir Melikuziev. Big up, G. Oh, yeah, big up to Blizz. Just watched the Gary Ward documentary. Have you seen it, G-Man? Oh, yeah, I seen that ages ago. Yeah, it's a great documentary. It's the HBO one, is it? Because I watched the HBO one. You know, great one. Stephen Toki, big up to him. Hart is a 175-pound fighter now, wouldn't he be fighting? Yeah, but Dean, I think he will be willing to go down to 168. I know he's not the biggest at 175. A few people said that. A few people were saying that he wasn't big. He's not the biggest 175 guy. So I reckon he could still do. And that was the thing. I reckon he could have still done 168 even before he went up to 175. And he took that L against Joe Smith. Wasn't too impressed with Berlanga, to be fair. He seems to be too much of a headhunter. Would like to see him go to the body. Yeah, no, he is. He definitely headhunts a lot. He wants them knockouts. What was the guy's name? Ramli Ali with the 22 first-round KOs. They wanted to get to something like that. Crazy. Did he do a face reveal? I let down. And oh yeah, he did. On Unrivaled stream, I might do some live stream in the future on camera. That was so funny. That was so funny when we did that. Man, big up to Mark Unrivaled. Because by the way, for that GoFundMe page, it was 13 grand that Gonzalo needed. That was hit. That was hit over the weekend. So it's up to, I think, 13,300. So I'm absolutely delighted with that. We all are. I know D Jeff is doing a live stream where they're carrying on the GoFundMe. Every little bit helps. So big up to the guys. Big up to Gonzalo and his son Mateo. Delighted they hit their target. Absolutely. Big up to Unrivaled, especially for doing 7 days. He ran that live stream. 7 days. Holy, I do a 2-hour live stream and I feel like I've just done a workout. He's done it for 7 days. Damn. The first thing is to keep his hands up. Yeah. That always annoys me, Joe. I've seen Fabio Wadley do it as well. Is you get fighters early on in their careers and they just want to have the hands down low, and you know yourself where they just the hands down low, they're trying to move, trying to be a bit flash. Until you're at a level of, say, like a Floyd Mayweather, Roy Jones, learn the basics, keep the hands up, because it only takes one swing with your hands down and then boom, lights out. If Shields, Savannah Marshalls happens, the fight has to have 3-minute rounds. I hope so. A fight of that size, they should really do 3-minute rounds, to be fair. They should. I've got Savannah Marshall heavy favorite in that fight. I know I was favorite in Bentley to beat Cash, but that's different. Savannah Marshall, she knocks Clarissa Shields out. Definitely. Myris Breedis versus Lawrence Acolli. Honestly, lads, I'll take Acolli in that fight. I'm serious. I'll take Acolli in that. I think he's just too rangy at the weight. He's just too damn big, too rangy. Frank was pissed. Yeah, Bentley lost to Eddie Fighter. He's throwing a shot at Matchroom when he can. Yeah, it's one thing for one officialized fighters to lose, but they lose to a Hearn fighter, especially when the Hearn fighters come on to BT Sports and beating him there. Man, old fish eyes, he has got to be seething. Any excuse to take a dig at Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Any excuse. Which of the top middleweights? As in, like, which could Cash fight? Well, honestly, none of that. Like, how about Cash versus Munguia if he wins his next few? I think Jaime Munguia would beat the living crap out of Felix Cash. That would be an interesting fight. It'd be all action. But look, Cash is a definitely good domestic / European level operator. But at world level, I don't know. I don't know if he'd be. I think it could be a case of, a bridge too far. I could be wrong. Like, I genuinely thought he'd get smashed against Bentley. He didn't. So I could be wrong. Could be very wrong about that. Which top middleweight can Cash beat? I'd give him a shot against Liam Williams. I would, honestly. Would you count Liam Williams as top middleweight? I don't know. I wouldn't pick him against Demetrius Andre. I wouldn't pick him against either Charlo. I wouldn't pick him against Munguia. Who else are we looking at in terms of top middleweights then? There's quite a few top middleweights I wouldn't pick him over, to be honest with you. So they'd be the kind of names. If we're looking at European level, I'm not 100% sure who the European champion is at 160, but I would give him a crack at someone at European level, definitely. Bentley couldn't stand the heat. No, it definitely looked that way. It definitely didn't look that way. It didn't look like he had a game plan. It just looked like he was going in there to try and just outman Felix Cash. And that was just not going to work. Yeah. It looked like he was on the verge of touching his knee, his knee kind of almost touched the ground. So that wasn't good. Like, I mean, I'll give Callum Johnson the benefit. He was out of the ring for 2 years. So obviously the ring rust to be there. Although it doesn't tend to hit pressure fighters as much as it does out and out boxers who rely on timing and reflexes and stuff. Triple G got robbed in the first one with Canelo. The same could happen here. Billy Joe Saunders needs a knockout or a complete dominant win on points. Did anyone watch the interview with Billy Joe's dad with Boxing Social? He really isn't too pleased with Eddie Hearn, you know. I don't know what is going to happen in this fight. I'm picking Canelo, as you all know, but I'm thinking Canelo wins this fight legitimately. As in, like, the scorecards will be red. They might be a bit too wide, but we can't turn around and say Billy Joe won the fight. I wonder if his motivation for this fight is going to be kind of dwindled a bit, given the fact that he said that he was told these referees, he was told there'd be no fans. To be fair, like, I don't understand why he was told there'd be no fans, because Canelo fought in Texas with Callum Smith, and there was, I think, 10 or something thousand fans in there. So for me, maybe this is just I don't know. But if you knew this fight was likely to happen in May and Canelo had fought with fans before, what made you think there wouldn't be fans this time? The only thing I'm thinking of is, unless he meant he didn't think there'd be a full attendance or something like that. But for me, it's like, well, he's fought with fans before, in winter. What makes you think there's not going to be fans in the summer? If Jarrell vacates all his belts and move up to 154, Cheeseman, Fitzgerald, Fowler, Smith, Conway, I wouldn't pick Cheeseman. I think I wouldn't pick anything, to be fair, to win a title. Like, I mean, it depends what champ. You never know. Like, they could do what they did with Shannon Courtney and Ebony Bridges, because neither of them were even in the top 5 of the WBA, but money talks at the end of the day, and you can give them a title shot like that. Well, yeah, maybe. But if you were talking about, like, who's around at that weight, like, imagine, like, some of the welterweights moved up and took some of them titles, could be a bit too much. Fowler, Cheeseman, Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald is good. Scott Fitzgerald is a good fight. He's just too erratic outside the ring. Never mind inside it. Inside the ring, he can be a bit erratic too. I remember he fought a guy before he fought Fowler, and he knocked the guy out in the 10th round. He was getting barred in that fight. He was losing it. And then he goes and puts on a great display against Fowler. Oh, yeah. What big fight do you think would kick off DAZN? He's supposed to be doing the backyard. Yeah, fight camp. Yeah. First fight camp on DAZN. Yep. That's what I'm thinking as well. Jesus, I like the fight camps. I thought they were great last year. Hopefully we'll have fans this year. That's how he's definitely going to kick DAZN off with that. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Apparently there's a card. There's this card next week, which is the last pay-per-view. There's a card in May, which Boatsi's headlining, and then we have a card in June. And that's the last Matchroom. Now, no one's announced for that card yet, but that's officially the last one, a card in June. So we'll need to see how that goes. But the one in June, and then after that, then it'd probably be July, and we can get fight camp going again. Happy. Big up to rolling with punches at MVG. Micah Van Gerwen. Did you see the Haney undercard? Yeah, I seen a few of the fights they announced. They have Chantel Cameron fighting on the undercard, and they also have Scott Quigley versus Shane Mosley Jr. Scott Quigley, of course, trained by Andy Lee. That'd be interesting. That's an interesting little scrap. Shane Mosley Jr. is nothing to write home about. He's already taken a couple of losses. Jay Quigley's been pretty inactive over the last year since he lost to Rio Johnson. The nicest possible way. You shouldn't be really losing to Rio Johnson, especially getting stopped by him in the nicest possible way. And Rio Johnson's as old as the pyramids at this stage. Oh, I missed a super chat there. Sorry, I'll read that now in 2 secs. Even the G-Man, I picked Canelo, but the closer the fight gets, the more you're fancying Billy Joe for the upset. I'm wondering what the odds are on Billy Joe. Might be worth sticking a cheeky fiver on him to win it on points just to see. Can't say. I wonder what the odds are. Might be worth just if you have a fiver to spare, just stick a fiver on him. Pick up the Jake. I didn't even notice that was there. You're not bored on. Oh, stop, mate. AJ Fury, another 2 weeks. Stop, man. God almighty. And now Frank Warren is saying there is no site fee. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that fight, mate. Do you know that they are holding? Do you know what I'm thinking? If we will get it, but we're not getting it until late in the year. We're not going to get it until about September. I reckon September, October. They're going to hold out till then. We're not getting it this summer. That's what I will say. We're getting it, but we're not getting it this summer. Because I'm just, something else is going to happen. Wait and you see. What do you think of Ryan Garcia pulling out with the front Fortuna fight? Take care of yourself first. That's what I say about that. Look after yourself first. If something's going on and shit like that, look after yourself first. So I don't begrudge him pulling out of it. If he didn't feel right, if he didn't feel up to it, I'm not going to judge him for that. Take care of yourself first. Whatever's going on with Ryan Garcia, if there's anything wrong or anything like that, look after yourself first. I'm sure Ryan Garcia doesn't need the cash. Do you not think Frank's regular Saturday night cards are better than Eddie's? To me, the fights are better matched, the more competitive. Yes, I do. I see where you're coming from there. Some of them are, but I don't know what. Yeah, no, I do. I see where you're coming from there. I do see where you're coming from. Some of the fights are more competitive than the ones Eddie Hearn puts on. And I agree. A lot of them are just, well, look at this card we have Saturday. I mean, Scott Fitzgerald is fighting on someone, I don't even think the opponent's named. Taylor Jonas. Taylor wins that. Eubank's going to fuck Marcus Morrison right up, which I'm not looking forward to. I hope they have Howard Foster referee in that fight for Marcus Morrison's sake, because he is going to get absolutely bashed up come what that fight. And then, yeah, I do see what you mean. And some of Frank Warren cards are a lot better. I mean, like, I look back to cards that happened a few years ago, even when his fighters were losing. You know, they were in competitive fights. You know, 2-0 to Matchroom. Even Floyd keeps his hands up when it's needed. Yeah, no, he does. Or he did. Can't remember who it was, but someone was suggesting the best thing for female boxers will be smaller gloves. Thought that was quite a good idea. Maybe get some more KOs. The glove thing I've said before, yeah. I see what you mean with that. I think the best thing would be 3-minute rounds. And when I was interviewing Raven Chapman a few weeks ago, she made a very good point, that people will often say that women boxing, that they're a bit sloppy, that they look a bit crude, right? So what she said is basically the reason why we can sometimes look a bit, and it makes sense, is that you've 2 minutes to get your work done. So it's not like you can just settle into the 3 minutes. And it does make a bit of sense, to be fair, because you got to figure if you start slow in the first minute of a round, well, you've only a minute to get the rest of your work done. Whereas you could start slow in a 3-minute round, you could start slow for the first minute, you still have 2 minutes to go. So I think that if they wanted to make the glove smaller, because let's face facts, an 8-ounce glove on a lightweight like Katie Taylor, and she is a lightweight, looks big. But a lightweight Tiafimo, an 8-ounce glove looks very small. So there you go. Even if they made them 6 ounces, and if they made the women fighters below welter use 6 ounces, and the ones below it, you're above it, used 8 ounces, might help a lot. Nico Colley clears up the cruiserweight division. Yeah, I think he's just too big. I think the heavyweight division is a different story. He's going to not be as successful, but a cruiser, yeah, he's going to. No, man, I don't mind. I'll gladly talk about it. I don't mind. Frank drops his fighters when he's pissed. Yeah, man, Frank just. And I do find it amusing when Frank Warren starts talking about, Eddie Hearn needs to be loyal to Billy Joe and this, that, and the other. And he's already looking at one of his fighters and say, you done the same thing to Joe Joyce, mate. When you literally, you look like a kid who got in trouble in school when Joe Joyce beat Daniel Dubois. Man, the guy wasn't happy at all. Marshalls beat Shields by stoppage. I agree. Who do I have between Sonny Edwards and Mehelina? I was predicting a defeat for Edwards, but Mehelina is 38. I just don't trust the judges. I think he's still going to win. I think he's going to have too much in the tank for Sonny Edwards. I think that I just think it's just going to be way too much in the tank. I still think there's too much there, too much skill. Sonny Edwards a bit inexperienced. No, I think he'll get through on points. And Jay Harris is fighting for eliminator in the week after, so he should be mandatory for that title. So that'd be interesting. Jay Harris is someone I know. Look, I've spoke with Jay a few times. He's a cool guy. I mean that Jay Harris is a lot more relentless than Sonny Edwards. You'd imagine that someone like Jay Harris, and Jay Harris, he's a hell of a fighter. I mean, go and watch his fight against Martinez. If Jose Zepeda and Ivan Baranchyk never happened, that would have been fight of the year. Hell of a fighter. I'd give him a better chance, to be honest with you. Beautiful thing to see the YTBC coming together for a good cause. Exactly. Unrivaled, Brian, D, big up to D, Jeff. Everyone involved. Your shout out to 2G, man. Life looks better, man. Absolutely. And like that £2 super chat that I got, I'm still donating all, like whatever super chats I get. That's why I say don't give me the super chat, give it to the charity, because YouTube takes some of it. But if you do, I just donate it back to the charity. Simple as. You'll see a donation from me for £2. I'll make it an even 5, but that's what we do, like, because we hit the target and all, I think last night, 13k. But D is keeping it going. We want to keep it going, you know. Little Mateo. And the great thing is, I was on Mark's stream on Friday, after Friday evening, not long before he finished up, and I actually got to see like Gonzalez live on he actually came on live, like in the hospital in the Philippines, and we got to see his little boy. You know, it's sad but lovely at the same time, because he's a little fighter, but it's still sad seeing it like that. But seeing him like that, but man, it's a great cause. Absolutely great little cause. It's big up to everyone who donated as well, by the way. Absolutely massive shout out to everyone who donated, who shared it. Everyone. It was brilliant to see. It's brilliant to see the little lad. Kamil Sakalowski got robbed last night. Absolutely no way. Alade, I'm saying that wrong, won the fight. Yeah, he didn't win it. In my opinion, that was a robbery. I don't use the word robbery too often, but for me, Sakalowski, I watched it back this morning, and yeah, I still think Sakalowski, I gave him one round. Whereas last night, I gave Sakalowski all the rounds, but Kamil Sakalowski, that's it. When I saw that fight get announced, I was like, that's a dangerous fight. Because Sakalowski's lost to guys like Victor Vickhurst. Victor Vickhurst is a hell of a fighter. He's a very good shout as a prospect. This is very different. Like, I've seen a lot of David Adewaye's fights. Oh, I can't pronounce his name, but he looks okay. But I was looking. I was like, he's not ready for Kamil Sakalowski. Billy Joe is already defeated in his own mind. I think that all this that Eddie Hearn's been doing, saying, you know, Canelo's ready for this guy, ready for that. I don't think it's. I don't want to say it's knocked him, but I think that definitely it has him thinking, how am I going to win this fight, even if I deserve to win it? You know, so I'm not sure. I'm sure he's not looking at this thinking, I can't win. I'm sure he's thinking, I can win. But he's probably looking at it thinking, oh, shit, you know, I'm up against it. And actually, speaking of charity, yesterday, right, I wasn't fundraising for this. I was just helping out, donating. Me and the lads in the thing, I think some people actually would have seen it, in the Phoenix Park yesterday in Dublin. We done a half marathon because one of my friends, he was his big brother, but he sadly passed away years ago now, about 15 years ago. And actually, no, 20 years ago now, for Deborah Ireland, which is like a skin condition. He has a really bad skin condition. We done a 21k yesterday, like a half marathon. Oh boy. And I done it in sub 2 hours, but oh boy, I am feeling it today, lads. I'm telling you that now. I am feeling it today. Big up to George. Salute the G-Man on 4k. Yeah, that was yesterday was a good day. I done a half marathon and I hit 4k. It was a good day. But I made a lot of mistakes. One of them was, and this is me, I studied fitness in college. You think I'd know better, and nutrition, but I forgot completely to drink water before I went. So obviously I was absolutely, one of my friends, right, who finished just a bit before me, when he seen me, he said I looked like a ghost. I was that dehydrated. And they had these Krispy Kreme donuts. I don't like Krispy Kreme donuts, but he was like, get that into you and get this water into you. Holy shit. I never had a donut taste so nice. I don't like their donuts, but that's how badly dehydrated I was. It's Scott Fitzgerald. Yeah, no, he's still on the card, as far as we know, unless he pulled out again, because he pulled out of a few cards. Sakalas deserved the win. We all knew he wouldn't get the decision. Yeah, I knew, and he wasn't even surprised either, to be honest with you. Hey guys, big up to Tet Lee. What's that say? Callum Smith were in front of fans. Fans is covering the cracks. Yeah, that whole thing about not having fans there, I mean, that surprised me. I was like, but he's fought in front of fans before, like a couple of thousand fans, good number of fans prior to all this. So, like during the winter, you know, because Texas are pretty cool state. I was like, why do you think there wouldn't be fans now? Late to the stream, but Ainsley Harriet got to be a home cooking reference. No, I didn't even use it as that, but that's actually a good one. I didn't think of that. That is actually a good little quote. That's a quote, home cooking for the decision. Yeah. No, I was using that as a kind of like popping a cork. But yeah, Ainsley Harry, look at that face. Jesus Christ. It's the looks Ainsley Harry gives when he's cooking. It's just that real, just looking into your soul almost. Don't see Billy Joe beating Canelo. No, I don't think he will, to be honest with you. I honestly, my opinion, don't think he will. But I do still think it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be competitive. I heard that's going to be that Hunter versus Hrgovic will be on the undercard of Dylan White versus TBA, probably Trevor Bryan, lads, in June or July. Now, that's an undercard fight. That's an excellent undercard fight. I really think that's a great little undercard fight. So, yeah, I don't know who will take in that fight. I'm going back and forth about who I think will win. Scott Fitzgerald's back next week, buzzing with the possibility of Fitzgerald Garcia. Now, that's a great fight. Garcia is a very, very good fighter. Do that over in one of the Spanish shows, because that Spanish show on Friday was a joke, lads. The officiating of that show was terrible. Fight Camp main event will be, they will not do that in Eddie Hearn's back garden. They will not do that in Eddie Hearn's back garden. No way. That's going somewhere. I seen someone say that, like, I think it was on Twitter, that they're looking at 75 mil each. Damn. AJ versus the Fury. Wake me up when we get, literally, that might even be the next video I do, because I have to record a couple of things this week that I've already planned. Not even, like, I have my WTF video to do this week. I have the thumbnail ready. You might like that, but I have to record that this week. And others, but I might even do a video on that and just be like, wake me up when we get there, like Hatman did with Anthony Art for Fury AJ. Just, this will be the last video I do. Wake me up when we get there. Who would win? Miller versus, see, it's hard to know with Miller, because if you're talking about, if Miller was off the juice and he was still even a fifth of what he was on it, you'd give him a good chance against Dylan White. But God knows what he's like off the juice, and God knows if we. Look, Jarrell Miller's an interesting one, because I don't think he should ever fight again. I think he should be banned for life. But I would watch him if he got a fight back. Do you know what sort of, because he's entertaining to me. It's weird, like, and I know a lot of people are like that as well, where it's like he really should be banned for life. He shouldn't come back, but we'd still watch him nonetheless. Jesus is coming. Canelo. Well, Jesus called there, lads. Canelo is going to win. It came from Jesus' mouth, you know. The DAZN model doesn't have pay-per-view shows as such, but do you think Eddie Hearn will still put bumper cards similar to pay-per-view events? Oh, yeah, well, see, if he has the pocket, if the DAZN are willing to pay, then, you know, he's going to put on good cards. He is going to put on good cards irrespective, because he has the money to pay for it. So it won't really matter as long as he has the money to pay for it. He won't give a shit. If the DAZN are paying 9 figures, which is in crazy money, he'll have money to put them on, no problem. Do you think Eddie Hearn's fight nights will stop being shit once the DAZN launches no more shitty women title fights. I'll tell you one thing, there'll be a lot less women fights. I'm telling you that now, there will be. Because I am absolutely convinced that Eddie Hearn wants to promote women's boxing. I believe that he does. But I think that Sky are the ones who are consistently getting him to chuck the fights on. And look, I've started doing a lot of women's coverage. I don't mind women's boxing. I know some people don't like it. If you do, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. But I don't think you should be I don't think it should be so pushed in your face. Like Adam Smith, when he was talking about Katie Taylor's fight, when she headlined in November, he was constantly banging on about how good numbers it did, this, that, and the other. But like, he kindly forgets to point out the fact that that was free for everyone. So if you didn't have a Sky subscription, you could still watch it for free. So he always shared, and that's why I can't wait till Adam Smith is gone. I swear, I have no time for that guy whatsoever. He's an absolute idiot of a man. And like, what always irritated me about Sky is, right, when they were doing the international fight cards before DAZN launched, so when they did like Ward Kovalev, their commentary was actually good. I think Matthew Macklin and Adam Smith commentated on that fight. And it was actually really good commentary. And it was really impartial. And they were talking about this. And it's like, this is how Sky can be when they're not being biased. But when they are, it's just like, oh, come on. You had Sokolowski 58-56. That's a reasonable, that's exactly, that could be a good, that's a grand scorecard. A draw would be questionable, but a win is just plain. Yeah, well, Ainsley Harry is on screen, as George C said, some home cooking. Billy Joe understands his position. It's his responsibility to upset the apple cart. Yeah, don't upset the apple cart, Billy Joe. Eddie Hearn would probably, do you know something, right? If Billy Joe Saunders beats Canelo, Eddie Hearn will look like Frank Warren after Anthony Yard, or not Anthony Yard, after Daniel Dubois lost to Joe Joyce. That would be Eddie Hearn in the ring. I'd say that frown will be just from ear to ear. That frown will be. But I'll be honest with you, lads, I can't see it. I can't see him winning. I think he has, don't get me, I've said it before, I'll say it again, he looks in great shape. He looks absolutely like he could, go 12 rounds at a decent pace. He'll cause Canelo some issues, but I think Canelo is just too improved. Fitzgerald is still fighting the 1st of May, and are you buying the pay-per-view? That's an interesting question. We have 98 in the chat, by the way. Big up to 98 people in the chat. If you could, lads and lassies in the chat, haven't asked yet, but if you could please, smash the like button on the way in, if you don't mind. I'd really, really appreciate it. I've 97 in the chat and only 30 likes. Can you please smash the like button while you're here? Just really does help the channel out. Helps it grow. I know we hit 4K. We can still grow. We're still growing. But I want to ask you guys' opinion. Who is buying this pay-per-view? I'm not. I won't be buying this pay-per-view. But I'd just like to know you guys' opinion. Who is in the chat willing to fork out? It's 25 quid in Ireland. Who's going to fork out for it? Just letting you know. Billy Joe was lying about the judges. It wasn't the contract. There wasn't going to be a Mexican judge. What do you think? Really? Is it interesting? I haven't. Was that on an IFL interview, or where did you hear that, man? But big up for letting me know that. If that's the case. Big up to Nurley. I think I got that, Nurley. I hope I got that. I always get these names are the hardest part. But thank you, yeah, and Junior as well. But hitting 4K, man, I'm delighted with that. It was a nice little treat yesterday. As I said, we done a charity half marathon yesterday, and I hit 4K. It was a good Saturday. I had a really good Saturday. What chance do you give Rigondeaux against Casimero? Rigo is one of my favorite fighters, so hoping he gets the job done. I liked Rigo. I know he wasn't the most entertaining fighter in the world, but I always liked watching Rigo. I always liked watching him. I liked the skill. The skill that he had was brilliant. I thought he was just fantastic to watch. The problem now, he doesn't seem to have his legs anymore. As in, like, I don't think he has the legs to be able to move for however many rounds. And I think he's standing and trading a lot more. And I think that Casimero a little bit too fresh. I think he's going to stop Rigo. Rigo's been looking a lot more vulnerable as of late. Pretty much since the Lomachenko fight, he's been looking a lot more vulnerable. And I think believe me, I have picked against Casimero before. I thought Zelani Tete would beat him. He's proved me wrong several times. I think he's going to beat Guillermo Rigondeaux. I like Guillermo Rigondeaux, don't get me wrong. I think he's a great little fighter. But I think, and he's, what, 40 years old now? Maybe a bit older, because I don't know, 40, I would be saying maybe a little bit older. Because this is didn't he fight in like Athens and in Beijing? So, yeah. Ainsley Harriott, the man who doubles a witch doctor in New Orleans. Those grinds are evil. Ainsley Harriott, man. Mark's the lad who introduced me about him. I never even heard of the guy until Mark showed me a few pictures, and I was like, damn. Juice Miller beats White but still loses to AJ. Yeah, I don't know what he'd do. Oh shit. I'm after losing all my questions. I'll scroll down now in a minute. Because it's hard to keep track of some of these questions. They're coming in so fast. But yeah, Juice Miller would beat Dylan White in my opinion. But I think he'd give AJ problems though. I don't think it'd be as straightforward as that. John Rollins is one of the worst commentators. Yeah. Yeah, John Rollins actually not a bad darts commentator, believe it or not. Big up to Penny, got here on time. Appreciate it. Do appreciate you covering the women's boxing. It's grown a lot on me. I've been watching it kind of intermittently over the last couple of years, but as of lately, I've been enjoying them a lot more. I've been enjoying them a hell of a lot more, you know. And it's not just me. My other, you know what, she only knew Katie Taylor. She literally, if you say women's boxing, you know Katie Taylor. Now she's starting to get to know a few of them because I'm telling her about this, or I was interviewing this person and this. So it's getting there. And like, I'm enjoying some of them. Like, I was proper entertained watching Ebony Bridges versus Shannon Courtney. So we'll keep it going, and I'll definitely be covering Katie Taylor this weekend. Definitely. But women's boxing, it's getting there. It's getting there. They need to change the 3 minutes, though. They definitely need to do that. They definitely need to change the 3 minutes. Adelaide came across as gun-shy and very limited. Was also disrespectful towards his corner. Was he? See, I didn't have the sound on, so I couldn't tell if there was anything being said in his corner or anything like that. But he seemed almost, it's weird, like, because he's been fighting guys who've been just falling down, and he was in there with a guy who was hitting the back, and it just seemed to kind of be just a bit all over the place. What pay-per-view? Yeah, this fight on the weekend is pay-per-view, mate. Oh, I suppose you could say, well, Ruiz versus Areola is in pay-per-view here. I think it's on Box Nation here. I haven't paid a Box Nation subscription in years. Chisora Parker, well, both, but in America, it's weird. In America, the guys get the Ruiz versus Areola card. That's pay-per-view. Whereas here, we get the Chisora Parker card on pay-per-view. They're both not pay-per-view worthy. I'm interested to see how Ruiz looks. I'm interested to see what he weighs in. He's saying he's weighing in the 250s. He's weighed lighter before, you know, prior to going with Eddie Reynoso. So I need to see how much he weighs. Be interested to see how he looks in the ring. But to be honest with you, Chris Areola is not going to tell us much. Did anyone see the rankings he gave, where he put like Chris Areola in as like, what was it, like the 5th best heavyweight in the world? I had to laugh at that because that's just so, isn't that just so something that an Al Heyman fighter would do? They try and just sell like mutton dressed as lamb, because obviously Areola, even in his day, was probably never top 5. And Areola's day was the early 2010s. And even though the heavyweight division back then wasn't great, I mean, Tony Thompson was a better heavyweight than Chris Areola back in the early 2010s, and he wasn't great. So for Ruiz to put, that's what you call reaching. That's what you call, like, just, do you know why he's ranked number 5th? Why is he ranked number 5? He's not fought anyone in 2 years. Well, I beat him up, so therefore it's increased his stock anyway. Something like that you'd want to hear, you think he'd say. Women's boxing is still growing a while. I'll watch any good fight. Courtney Bridges, for example. There's no depth of talent right now. They're promoting mediocrity as something special. To some extent, definitely to some extent, the Bridges Courtney fight was entertaining. It was, but I would have liked to have seen either girl get a shot against number 1 or number 2 in the division, because a vacant title, as far as I'm concerned, should be between 1 and 2, unless there's an exceptional circumstance. So for argument's sake, do you remember when George Groves, this is men, but it's the same basic principle, when George Groves was mandatory for Carl Froch when he was the IBF champion? As far as I was aware, Carl Froch, or George Groves, mandatory because basically the other contenders ahead of him had fights lined up or couldn't take the mandatory, so it fell to him. That's how the IBF do it, and I think some of the other sanctioning bodies do it as well. Hi, Ainsley. I bought a lemon, an onion, and a pint of bitter, and some fish eyes. I'm hoping to make Frank Warren. Fuck me, man. Jesus Christ. But yeah, women's boxing, it is a small pool, but look, the more... This is one thing about actually amateur gyms that we need to worry about. If amateur gyms keep closing, I'm worried that you'll lose male and female coming up, because that's how they all start out, is in the amateur boxing gyms, you know. Look, I interviewed Nicola Hopewell a few weeks ago, and she had a fight last night. She won it in the first round, by the way, with a body shot. I actually watched that fight. Big up to Nicola Hopewell, by the way. She went into just the fitness class and ended up leaving, you know, becoming a boxer, basically. So at grassroots level, they need to just keep it going with these amateur gyms. If these amateur gyms all start closing, you're going to lose a lot of talent. Stream team all the way. It'll be cracking, Joe. It'll be cracking all the way. That's what I always say. Rigo is an old man now. Yeah. He's definitely older than 40. I know he's 40, but he's definitely older than that. I think he's definitely older than that. Eddie was very careful with his words, saying Billy Joe will get everything in the contract as promised. Billy Joe is wanting stuff outside the contract that was maybe talked about. I don't really feel like it'd be. Look, I get the impression that Billy Joe, and to be honest with you, I kind of got that impression very early on, even like way prior to him and Canelo ever being a thing, like coming up to fight, that maybe the relationship with him and Eddie wasn't that good, irrespective of who he was going to fight. Maybe he kind of thought, you know what, he's getting me money, he's getting me this, but I guess that there was always going to be, they were never best buds, put it like that. They never spoke very highly of each other prior to them two signing together. So maybe Eddie doesn't want to go out his way for Billy Joe. Athens is in Greece. It is, yeah. It is in Greece. That's one thing I know about it. It's definitely in Greece. Athenia in Greece. Eddie said there that he will appoint his own team of presenters and commentators. He says they will be best in class. He basically said the Sky team aren't up to it. If that's true, holy shit. If that's true, then he's acknowledging the fact that the Sky team are not the great. Oh, man. You see, I wonder what's going to happen when Eddie Hearn leaves Sky. What are they going to do with the team? Because a lot of the presenters are all ex-Matchroom fighters. I wonder if they're going to keep them. You know? I mean, Harley Quinn, as a presenter, he's literally been just kind of kept on because he's best buds with. I hope they don't put Harley Quinn in the zone. I really don't. I really hope we don't get... They won't put that. I can't see them doing that. They're not going to put Harley Quinn in the zone. But that Johnny Nelson stuff... Well, Johnny Nelson's been with Sky for years, so he's not going to go anywhere. Eddie needs to bring Ade in for commentary. Man, Ade would do a cracking job on commentary. Ade would do a cracking job on commentary. You'd love it if they did something like that. Could you imagine though? Like, I know on Sky Sports for football, they've done that where they brought like YouTubers on to talk boxing or talk football. Imagine if DAZN did something like that where they just took like a couple of boxing YouTubers on and like just got them to cover, you know, different areas of it. Like you could stick fucking Ade on to commentate or interview. You could stick me on to talk, like do the women's fights or something like that. Imagine they done something like that, like just as in like, you know, little, obviously not on a show, but just like little side piece or something like that. And that would be amazing. I hope Eddie Hearn isn't going to have Darren Barker doing UK fights. No, it's going to be a completely new team. So, yeah, Barker's not great. He's not great, but he's not the worst. I'd sooner listen to Darren Barker than I would, like a Johnny Nelson or someone like that. Or, Carl Froch or someone like that. You'd agree, he's been getting hit too much lately. And Casimero's on a good streak and a real good fighter. I think that Rigo's legs just aren't there anymore. I don't think he has the I think that Rigo, what I loved about Rigo was he had great legs. He could move well. He could, his reflexes were on point. This is prime Rigo now. His reflexes were on point. He was fast. He could punch. Now it seems like the reflexes just aren't there. The timing's not there anymore. I think he's there for the taking. That fight, before he fought Laborio Solis, and that was a real close fight. He fought, I can't remember the guy's name, but Rigo stopped him in 8 rounds. But he was losing that fight, and I was watching that, and I was like, this isn't Guillermo Rigondeaux. He's getting hit way more than I'm used to seeing him. And I was looking at it, I was like, this isn't the Guillermo Rigondeaux I watched, school beneath the Nair. And that was a great fight. This isn't the same guy. And that was 2 years ago. So now I'd imagine the reflexes are probably even more gone. Casimero hits very hard. I think he's only 30, 31. So he's still, in good area of his, good peak of his prime. Not want to say in his actual prime, because they tend to peak very early in the lower weight divisions. But he's still fresh. He's on a good roll. And yeah, I can't see anything other than the Casimero win. I think he'll stop him. I think he'll stop Rigo. And I really do like Guillermo Rigondeaux. I think that when he was having his run at 122 pounds, when he was with Top Rank, it was actually shameful, because you'd Scott Quigg ducking him, you'd Carl Frampton ducking him, you'd his mandatories who didn't want to fight him. And that's a fact, by the way. He just couldn't get the fights. And Bob Arum was just saying how boring he was and this, that, and the other. And the Nito Donaire fight, really, that wasn't boring. That was a good fight. And that kind of brought it out. He really stamped his authority on that Donaire fight very early on. And he really got Donaire's respect with his punching power. He put Donaire in his place. It's mad no network has picked up. Yeah. I can't get over that. Big up to Karma. Karma. If I'm saying your name wrong, I am so sorry. Karma. I'm saying that right. I'm going to assume that I'm saying that right. Karma Serene. Big up to you every single time. Yeah, 5th place for Andy Ruiz on Areola. Mental. Yeah, what can you do? Let's leave him at it. That's what I say. Canelo too powerful for Billy Joe Saunders to wear him down with body shots. That's why Billy Joe needs to make sure that middle is in very, very good shape. So he's going to be getting hit with body shots from the opening bell. He's going to want to take them well. DAZN will make Hearn work more. Sky Machine, everyone lazy. Yeah, like DAZN definitely are going to be. They're definitely not going to just let Eddie Hearn go along with what he was doing with Sky, where they kind of do this. Eddie's going to be working for. But I think that Eddie Hearn's taken a lot on. If you think about it, he's running the snooker. He's in charge of darts now. He's chairman of the PDC. He's got a lot on his plate, that lad. Be interesting to see what they get Frank Smith to do more with these shows now. Frank Smith. Was watching your glove reviews on flies. Love those vids. Are you going to do more? And what gloves am I using at the minute? I will eventually when I get some new gloves, but the problem is I don't get sent them. They're mine. Like, so I obviously bought all them, and they're expensive. And it's not that I can't buy them. I can, but I'm not boxing at the minute, so I'm not hitting any bags. I will hopefully. Well, I'm not going to go back boxing, but I will eventually get back hitting bags and stuff. When the gyms, reopen, or when I can get a bag for here. I'll always use Fly. I don't like Reyes at all. I don't really like Rival. I have a pair of Everlast MX gloves, which I really like. Don't like Grants. There's a few brands that I want to try. Like, I'd love to try the Denaro gloves. The ones with they're Italian with a little kind of shamrock on them. They look real good, but I've heard that they wear very quickly, like very quickly. And for the price of them as well, they wear very, very happy. They wear very, very quickly. So they're like over $1,000. So if Denaro are listening and they want to send me something to do a review, I'll be more than happy to do it. But I'm not paying $1,000 for a pair of gloves that I'm not going to be fighting in. Sky Sports commentary are shockingly bad. Yeah. Ade already has broadcast experience with Fox Sport. Yeah. No, big up to Ade. I've listened to him commentate on some of them African shows, but big up to Ade. He'd be great. I wonder if DAZN would get him in there, because Ade is a good commentator. You know, definitely get Ade. I'd love it if they done something like I said earlier, where they just got like, it doesn't even have to have like YouTubers, like boxing YouTubers, like, you know, presenters are at the forefront, but just a little something for them, kind of almost, you know, like they do with football now. Hearn says the conditions of his agreement with DAZN is that Matchroom will assume responsibility for all content, fight night, digital content. Oh, wow. I'm looking forward to this. So it's literally see, this is the thing you need to remember, is that a lot of what was going on Sky, from a Matchroom point of view, Adam Smith was having a say on this, was having a say on that. So Eddie Hearn might have wanted to push this fight, but you'd have Adam Smith, you know, that sort of way. So now it's going to be just Eddie Hearn. What would be your imaginary commentary team for any big fight? Boxing YouTubers only. Well, if it's Dave Allen versus Christopher Lovejoy, it would have to be me and Dale commentating on that fight, because me and him have sold Christopher Lovejoy on our channels, you know. So it would have to be me and Dale. For a big heavyweight fight, do you know what, right? Do you know who I'd love to hear commentate on a heavyweight fight? So say, for argument's sake, this weekend we have Derek Chisora versus Joseph Parker. Hatman, I know he wouldn't do it, but Hatman and Boxing Squares, because the two of them know the heavyweights very well, and they know what they're looking for. Could you imagine a good heavyweight scrap with those two guys commentating? That'd be very good. The two of them would complement each other very well commentating, because the two of them know heavyweight boxing to a T. Big up to both guys. In terms of big fights like Savannah Marshall, you'd obviously want me and Ring IQ, because me and him really know, well, he knows more than me. Ring IQ is the amount of stuff he knows about female fighting is crazy. But me and Julius may be on that. In terms of like, we'll say, I suppose the dream commentary team, like different commentators for different types. Like some of us, we all have our preferences. Like, I suppose if you think about it, if you want someone to explain a very technical fight, you definitely want someone like Mark, maybe Mark and D, because they do a very good job. So for argument's sake, if you had like Lomachenko versus this guy he's fighting, I forget the guy's name, Nataka, I forget the guy's name. I know the guy. You maybe want Mark and D on that, because they could break it down very well. So, you know, different kind of areas for it. But like Savannah Marshall versus Clarissa Shields, definitely you would want myself and Julius. That'd be our kind of thing. We definitely have a good job talking about that. For heavyweights, definitely Boxing Squared and Hatman, definitely. Big up to Limo. What's up, G? A bit late to the chat. What's happening? It's all good, man. It's all good. We're all good. We're just talking about all kinds of anything, mate, to be honest with you. Nelson needs his vocal cords. Johnny Nelson, right? I don't know if you ever go on Twitter, but there's that Company Nelson page, and honestly, like, they themselves don't even... It's so hard to differentiate between the two, because the things they say, you could easily see Johnny Nelson saying it. You know, you could easily see Johnny Nelson saying that. When are you going to do WTF Adrian Broner? I'm not doing it this month, but I will get around to doing Adrian Broner. I have the thumbnail already ready for this. I'm not going to tease, because I haven't recorded it yet. I was going to record it today, but between running the half marathon yesterday, going out for drinks last night with the guys, I've just been jaded today. So I'm going to record a video tonight, but I'm going to record WTF probably going to do it over the course of a week, because those videos take at least 3 hours between recording and editing to do. So I might not get it all done in the night. I'll probably have to do it over the course of a day or two, but it's no big deal. I love doing them anyway. You're going to like this next one. This next one's a funny character. And the thumbnail is brilliant. Big up to Dan for making it. But I've seen the thumbnail. You'll see it soon. And I've got a Wilder video coming up as well. And again, see, me and him, he makes the thumbnails, but I come up with the idea. So I say to him, like, I want this, but would you put this in it? And he always does. He kind of knows at this stage. He's like, you want this? Yeah. You got to get a bit of humor into some of the thumbnails as well. Also meant that whatever size contract Hearn signs, it has to fund paying the fighters and venues and also contacts. Oh, no, I'd assumed that now. I thought they'd do something like that. They wouldn't just give him the flat, like, there you go, as your money up front. This is just for this, that, and the other. It's going to go to Everton. It's like an accountant. Dream commentary team. Barry Jones and Paulie Malignaggi. Jim Lampley. I love Jim Lampley. I always like Jim Lampley. Always like. So Jim Lampley, Barry Jones, Paulie Malignaggi. Who else? Presenter had to be Paul Dempsey. If we could get Ian Darke back on commentary as well. I love Ian Darke. Love Ian Darke. Love listening to him on commentary. I'd love it. I'd love it if they could get Ian Darke on. Wouldn't surprise me if Eddie took most of them. I hope, Joe. I hope. No, he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't do that. Keep it as get it brand new and just rebuild it. Make it better. Everlast are good. Venom aren't nice. Don't buy Venom. I don't like them at all. I do not like Venom gloves at all. I've worn them. I've not really done a hard workout in them, but do not, from what I've seen, they're not good at all. You know, a lot of fighters don't know much about gloves. That's one thing I've learned from being around gyms. A lot of fighters just wear gloves because, oh, this guy wore them. You know, when you're wearing a boxing glove, right? If it's not comfy on you and if it doesn't feel right, don't wear it because you need to feel comfy in it. I've worn Reyes, felt horrible in them. I've worn Fly gloves and it felt like just perfect. Like when I interviewed Raven Chapman, she liked Rival or FX Guerrero. I don't particularly like them personally. I've worn them, but I don't particularly like them. To me, it's preference. So she likes the feel because they're puncher gloves. It's a bit of horse. She likes the feel of her knuckle through the glove. Whereas I kind of wear the Fly. It's foam. I just like that soft feeling on my hand. And they're not too soft. They're not like winning gloves, which are just pillows. This foam is good and it has a bit of power snap in it as well. Speaking of gloves, do you think Fly gloves lack padding? No, they definitely don't lack padding. They definitely don't lack padding. It could be whatever way the foam is distributed. It could be because, like, you could look at put it like this, right? An Everlast MX glove is made primarily of foam and horsehair. That will look bigger than a Grant glove, which is primarily made of foam. In fact, I think it's all foam. So it just depends on what's in it and how it's made, you know. And like I said, an Everlast glove, if you had the choice, you won't want to get hit by neither, but you'd rather get hit with a Grant glove because it's only foam. With an MX glove, it's mainly horsehair, even though it looks bigger. I know a lot of people hate Wilder, but I still think Wilder could beat Fury if he just changed his techniques. I think Fury should give him a rematch. Honestly, mate, I don't really want to see the rematch. And personally, I don't think Wilder has the mindset to be able to change those techniques. I get what you're getting at. And look, don't get me wrong, Wilder has the power to beat any heavyweight. I mean, as he said, he's right. It's a bad way, but he's right that he only needs to be good for 3 seconds and he wins. He's right in that sense, but it's a bad way to be, you know, because, and especially now that he's been out of the ring for so long, over a year, he's someone who can time you with his right hand. You take that timing away with inactivity, it's not going to be good. Although same could be said for Fury, it has to be said. Yeah, big up the hat, man. One of my favorite. He was the first channel I ever listened to, Boxing Channel, and it was like a clickbait because I remember looking. I forget which. I think it was Klitschko Pulev looking for highlights of the fight. I ended up listening to his post fight, and I was like, "This." I didn't want to know about your thoughts, but I like your voice, and then I was just started listening from then on. Tyen Boot and Richard Dwyer, Dream Team. Oh man. Can you imagine Tyen Boot commentating on Shannon Courtney or someone like that? Imagine like Amir Khan if he fights again. Yeah, a few punches thrown. You know the Skype wanker? Yeah, that's who he is. Throwing punches. Yeah. Thanks for the 79 pence. I do appreciate that. You can picture something like that. Boxing After Dark, like HBO used to do. Ty Boot as the commentator. Yeah, Teddy Atlas was a great commentator, be very passionate. That was one of the reasons why ESPN took him kind of off commentary. He would just get so passionate about things. I'm not convinced Christopher Lovejoy even exists. I'm thinking he's some sort of DC. Oh, man. Lovejoy. He is just such a chancer. He is, like, to be fair, I have to give him props, though, because plenty of people have padded records, but the way he's just, I don't get it. He's just, there's something so bizarre about him. You just want to watch him. And that's what me and Della were saying. We want to see that. Alan will probably beat the crap out of him, but you just want to see it because you want to be like, how bad is this guy? I think it's the fact that there's no real footage. I've seen footage of him with Buddy. Was it? Yeah, it was Buddy McGurk, and he looked terrible throwing the right hand. Buddy McGurk was just like, what the hell? And who else was it? I think it was someone. Who else was it? Oh no, it was him. He put up his own Instagram video. It was him fighting. He looked as slow as molasses. I tried a pair of the Naro gloves the other day. They feel amazing. They're very expensive though, mate. They're extremely expensive, the Naro gloves. When the padding wears out, you send the gloves and oh really? I didn't know that because I see a lot of MTK fighters using them. And like Dylan White used them briefly. He used them against Chisora in the rematch. They look amazing. I'm sure they feel absolutely amazing. The gloves Canelo uses, you can get a training pair of them. One of my friends has them. I've tried them. They're not very nice, but they're not like the actual fight glove. The fight gloves are meant to be a lot nicer. There was a crowd on Instagram called MXN. They do very nice gloves. You don't see many pros use them though. They're puncher glove. They're very nice. They're very good as well. There's so many kind of different gloves out there. I would always go with what you feel comfy with. You see, some people believe like, oh, but it's a puncher's glove. At the end of the day, there's no real such thing as a puncher's glove. Yeah, there's gloves with less padding, but at the end of the day, you stand a better chance of hurting your hand using a glove with less padding. And believe me, I'll testify to that. You really do. You want to use it. Like personally, I don't have brittle hands, but I like my fly gloves because they just feel comfy. They just feel comfy. There's good protection in them, and I just like wearing them. So, and I use the Fly. Well, I have two pairs. I have the Fly normal gloves, which are very dear. I got them 2 years ago, and they're still very good. And I have the X's, which are the cheaper version. And honestly, the X's, they're just as good, if not better. The only difference, the padding is not as good in terms of like the other one. You can tell it's higher quality, but I don't give a crap about high quality padding and stuff like that. It's a glove as a glove. As long as it feels nice, I really couldn't care less about the padding. Replace Anna Wallhouse with Kate Abdu. It's time to upgrade. Yeah, Kate Abdu seems cool. Get Pheno Boxing on as one of like the interviewers. Shout out to Adriana. So proud bringing women's boxing, fighting for a G. I would be gladly do commentary on women's boxing. And hopefully I get some more females on here for some interviews. I want to get I think I'm going to have an interview in the next week or two with, as in on the channel, like obviously it's probably going to be a male, but I want to try and get a few more females. I like Ellie Scott or someone like that. We'll try and get on the channel or someone like that again. Give some of these up and comers even a bit of a platform. You know, as I said, Nicola Hopewell, who was on here 2 weeks ago, she won last night. It's a big up to her in a fight. She got a first round stoppage. Billy Joe Saunders at the beginning to win me over more and more. He could do it, to be fair. Look, I wouldn't rule it out at all. But I don't know. I just think there's just that bit. I think Canelo is just a bit too good anyway, no matter what. And I think Billy Joe was starting to kind of, don't want to say get annoyed, but I don't know. It's a weird one. He would give a good fight, win or lose. Oh yeah, he's going to give a good fight. I think that's more so a deal he has with them, a sponsorship deal, because Usyk still uses Rival. And you would imagine that because he's been using Rival for a while, has Lomachenko, and then he switched to Venom. I'd imagine it's maybe a sponsorship deal because Usyk still uses Rival. And they're like Russ Amber, who is the main guy of Rival. He is like the main lad in charge. I spoke with Russ Amber a few times. He's a cool guy. He will be the main. He's cut man for a lot of guys. I think he's Lomachenko's cut man. Everlast are shit as well. We're all used to what we like. I don't mind the Everlast, to be honest with you. I like the MX. They're a bit tight around the kind of like knuckle area, but they're not as bad as the Reyes. The Reyes are just not nice at all. And they've really gone. I think Manny Pacquiao is the only fighter who uses them nowadays. I think G-Man needs to school Wilder on gloves, man. When that whole glove thing came out, I was like, well, gloves are my kind of my thing, you know. I know boxing gloves very well. I buy a lot of them and I've got a lot of boxing equipment. So if anyone wants to talk, you want to talk to me about gloves and what you can get in them, then I'll engage. I'm going on Tyan's next live stream and giving it 25. Can you give 23p? I thought the minimum you can give in euros is 99 cents. The minimum you can give in pence, I think, is 79 pence. I'm pretty sure because Nuri gave me 79 pence once. And I'm pretty sure you can't go lower than that on the phone anyway. I'm pretty sure you can't go lower than 79 pence. I do appreciate the 79 pence. Yeah, thanks for that. If you're not passionate about the sport you're involved the most, what's the point? That's it. Like this, boxing's my number one sport. I love F1, but it doesn't have the same appeal that boxing does. Boxing's just, for me, it's just like, oh, it's just, I love it. At least with it being in Saudi Arabia, that's exactly it. I love the fact that the Ruiz one was over and all by like 9 o'clock. That was brilliant. Oh, it was on early and it was just, man, it was just brilliant. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fact that it was, not major. I enjoyed the fact that it was done and all, then we could head out early. So there was that. What do I think of Prime Lewis versus Prime Fury? Definitely Lennox Lewis, mate. Lennox Lewis, definitely. It's a tough fight, but Lennox Lewis, he's fought guys 6'9" above. I cannot remember his name. His name slipped my mind again. Someone only asked me that a few weeks ago, and someone was very kindly to put it in the chat, but I can't remember it now. But Lennox Lewis could always change things. He could always get on the fly. That's a good question. Speaking of F1, I believe Lando Norris will be the next big thing in F1. Yeah, Lando Norris is definitely going to do great things. I'm a big fan of him. I like Lando Norris. He's cool. He's real cool. Really cool. He's going to do wonders in F1. Lando Norris. He's funny as fuck, that kid. If Tyan Boot auctions off a bottle of Echo Falls, piss bottle, G-Man will be the top bit. No, man, Mark's already bid for that. Mark gave him 50 quid to pour that bottle of piss over his head, and he didn't fucking do it. So if anyone deserves that bottle of Echo Falls, it's Mark, unrivaled. He gave Tyan Boot fucking 50 quid. He said, pour that bottle of piss. And he said, if you give me 50 quid, I'll do it. Mark gave him 50 quid and he didn't fucking do it. So there you go. That belongs to Mark. That's unrivaled. Henry Akin one day, very tall too. Lennox Lewis beaten by DQ. That was really disgusting. What Akin, he just did not want any part of that fight. His cornermen were even saying, "What are you doing in here?" You know, that was bad by Henry Akin one day. He just held and held and held in that fight. It's terrible. And look at Lewis when he fought. Lewis would just take it to them. Like when he fought Klitschko, it was crazy because Klitschko was training for, who was he training for? He was training for a guy shorter than him. And he fought Lennox Lewis, who was shorter than him. And Lennox Lewis was training for Kirk Johnson, who was 6'2", and then he was fighting someone 6'8" on a week's notice. It was crazy, but that was a hell of a fight. Oh my god! I still think Lewis would have won the rematch if that rematch ever happened. I still think that Lewis would have won the rematch. 50 quid. I will never forget that. I will never forget that live. I think it was on like the Fury AJ live, where I was watching it myself, and I just see him saying in the live, he's like, I think it's near the end, and he's like, 50 quid. He's like, you want me to pour the bottle of piss over my head? Right, well, give me 50 quid and I'll do it. Next thing, boom, there's the 50 quid suit. And he looks at it, he's just like, I can't do it. I'll throw you a t-shirt instead. I'll send you on a t-shirt or something instead. And that was funny as fuck. I think someone else donated 50 quid and was saying, you can't hide, you have to do it. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. Big Unrivaled. That was brilliant from Unrivaled. I remember that was funny as fuck. Well, lads and lassies, I'm going on this like basically an hour and a half. So I'm going to call it quits here. This has been a fun little live stream. Man, we got some great viewers in the chat. Man, we did so much. Big up to Penny. Big up to Joe. Big up to Graham. Oh, man, I haven't seen you yet in the chat. Big up to you every single time, Graham Taylor. Haven't seen you yet in the chat. Big up to you. Big up to MVG. Did you see the report? I did. I did see that. I did see that as well, man. AJ Fury. I hope so, but I'm starting to think more so now, mate, that it's going to be later on in the year for some reason. But big up to Limo. Big up to Lost Soul. Halim. We're going to get another one of these definitely in during the week, as we always do. I've got a lot of loads to do this week, like in terms of videos, not loads of work. It's fucking quiet as hell, but I've loads of time to do videos this week. So that's only a 4-day week for me this week as well, which is great. So, and it's a bank holiday in Ireland as well. So I actually get a 5-day week because I took a few days off next week too. So I've got loads of time to make some videos. Oh, I'm gonna block you. I'm blocked this man. Look at this. Look who's in the chat. Boris Johnson. Billy Joe going to bring home the bacon. Billy Joe going to bring the bacon home to the UK. Yes. Oh, yes. It's like he's playing charades, isn't it, when he's always talking? Do you ever hear him talk? He's like, yes, 2 words. Yes, a movie. Yes, it was. Yes, and yeah, yes. That's Bart. He's not welcome. I remember I got someone with a Joe Biden account on here once. That was funny as fuck. And then they had an Angela Merkel account as well. But hit the like button on the way out. Hit the like button on the way out. Big up, lads. Lads and lassies, big up to all of you. I'm going to call it quits here. I'll talk to you all some stage during the week. I got a good video planned for you guys tomorrow as well, so stay tuned for that. Talk to you all.